This is Faraday from AresMush, and this is part 4 of the Editing Ares Code tutorial. In all our examples so far, we've tested our code changes on our actual game. And while that's convenient, that's not necessarily ideal, because if we mess something up, now we've actually messed up the real game and impacted our players. And so it would be better if we can have a test game that we use just to test our code changes before we deploy them to the real server. We're going to show you a couple different ways that you can set that up. So the ideal solution is to just have your test environment running on your local PC. That way you can have the code on your PC, edit the code, test the code. If something's wrong, you fix it right there on the PC. There's no need to worry about uploads or GitHub or anything like that. And if you have your home PC is running either Linux or Mac OS, you can do this. Basically, in this example, I have 3 terminal windows open on my Mac, and in one I can run the Redis database, so I have the database running on my computer. In the next one, I can do bin dev start from my AresMush code directory. That will start the game in debug mode, and it prints out messages to the screen. It'll keep running until I hit Control C to quit it. And then in the third terminal, I have the web portal folder open, and I can do dev portal, which will run the web portal in debug mode. So through this way, now I can go over to Atlantis, and I'm connected to a machine that's running, or to a game that's running on my own local machine, which is highly convenient. If I make changes on my hard drive, I can just do load and then whatever plugin I changed and reload the code right here. Similarly, when I connect to this website, it's actually connecting to the web server running on my PC. There is a setup script that uses Mac's Package Manager Homebrew to install all the development tools that you'll need in order to run everything locally on your Mac. If you have a Linux machine, you can just use the basic Ares server setups, essentially. And so with those two, you should be able to get it running pretty easily. If you have any trouble, just go ahead and ask for help on the forums. So if you have Windows for your home PC, you won't be able to install Ares locally, at least not at this time. And so there are some other options we'll get into in a second, but they all require some degree of server administration know-how. And that may not be something that everyone is either comfortable with or feels like dealing with, because it can be frustrating sometimes. So the easiest solution, if you're looking for something quick and simple, is to just get a second server. A DigitalOcean droplet is $5 a month, so you could basically have one droplet that's your real game and one droplet that's your test game. You can further save money if you take advantage of the DigitalOcean snapshot backup feature, because basically what you can do is create the test game, then take a backup of it, save the backup, but destroy the droplet. And as long as your droplet is destroyed, not just powered off, but actually destroyed, you don't get charged for the resources for using it. And so you can basically just create the droplet only for a few hours at a time when you need to test some code. And when you're not using it, you can destroy it. And that way you only get charged the hourly rate, not the monthly rate. And even though there's a small monthly fee for the snapshot storage, when you add up the snapshot storage plus the hourly rate, it's still going to be considerably less than $5 per month. So for the next few solutions, I'm just going to touch on them briefly because, as I mentioned, they do require a bit of, technical know-how in terms of server administration, and it's a bit beyond what I can provide step-by-step instructions for, like I do for the DigitalOcean droplet installations. So the first option is to use a virtual machine. For example, you can install Oracle's VirtualBox Manager and create what is essentially your own little private Linux server that runs on your PC. Now, it does use the memory of your PC, so while the virtual machine is running, your PC is going to be pretty slow. But the nice thing is it will work on both Windows and Mac. As long as the virtual machine is running, you'll be able to connect to it from your local PC, just as you would to a server in the cloud. Your next option is to use a cloud IDE or development environment, such as CodeAnywhere.com. And these are kind of a pain to set up, to be quite honest, but the advantage is that you can have it completely in the cloud, accessible from any computer. And in this example, I have Aries running in development mode there, and then over here, I can basically just telnet to localhost 4201 and connect to the game running completely in this cloud environment. I haven't figured out how to get the web portal working like this. So if you do figure that out, let me know. But at least you can code and test your main game code like this. So the final option I'll mention is that it is technically possible to run two copies of a game, one a test game and one real game, on the same server. The trick here is that you probably want to have separate copies of the database to avoid any database collisions or issues like that. And getting two instances of Redis set up on the same server requires you to jump through a bunch of hoops. There are some tutorials online that you can find for that. But once you get that set up, and then you'll have to manually set up your second Aries game because all of the Aries install scripts are assuming that you're only have one game on the server. So you'll have to kind of copy and paste commands manually. And then you have to keep track of, which directory you're in, which port you're on. So it's not really the best solution, but it is possible, so I figured I'd mention it. It's worth noting that you get your code onto any of these test environments in the same way that you get it onto your real server, preferably through GitHub. You can also use FTP or direct editing for most of them, but I really do recommend that you get in the habit of learning how to use GitHub. It will save you so much time in the long run and make your life much, much easier. So that concludes the Editing Aries code tutorial. Happy coding, and thanks for listening.